Hello and welcome to my presentation on how artificial intelligence can connect to most, if not all, school subjects. Let's get started taking a look at how this begins. All right, so in that connection between AI or artificial intelligence and school subjects, let's talk about the practical application of this. With a deeper understanding of what AI is, how to use it, and some of its history, maybe then you can expand on more targeted ways to use and to teach AI in the classroom within various school subjects. Many educators right now are looking for ways to mitigate or stop the use of AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini in their subjects. But I want to take a different approach. I want to go over how we could teach students how to use AI as it relates to their specific subject area as a tool in their learning. We can also teach what AI is, as I've already mentioned. We can also teach the history of AI and some related subject areas. It certainly can come up, and in a similar or more reduced way to a lot of the ways that you can find in other videos or presentations on my website. For every school subject at almost every level from kindergarten through grade 12 and beyond, general class discussions and usage of AI could focus on general things like lesson planning. Obviously, teachers can use AI to design, brainstorm specific subject lesson plans, assignments, test, review sheets, or differentiated instruction materials, right? For example, taking existing materials and creating different reading levels or enrichment work for students within a subject area. AI is a great tool for that. You can use AI as an analogy, like the calculator analogy, that you could say that to students that AI is like a calculator for ideas, and that like a traditional calculator can be used in math class to enhance your numeracy skills, AI tools can be used to calculate ideas. They can build from the ideas that AI starts them on. On the next level, this can lead to a general discussion on whether or not we should bother learning fundamental skills like basic math or basic grammar, now that a lot of these tools take care of that task for us. We can use AI for study guides. We can show students how to use AI to create study guides and study plans for specific topics. This can include graphic organizers, infographics, idea collages, all kinds of study guides. On the next level, you could show students how they can use AI to make practice test questions and then a practice answer key based on teachers' assignments. They could give AI one of the teacher's assignments as an example, and they could use that to create these tools or to study for the real test that's coming up. We can have discussions about the future, having subject-specific discussions on the impact of AI in your specific subject area or the related careers to your specific subject area. On the next level, lead the class in examining several careers. Draw a chart on the board, breaking down the tasks in that job into categories like cerebral tasks versus physical versus social tasks, and then have the class rank the likelihood of AI replacing that career in the near future. So let's try that. At a lower level or at a lower risk are jobs that require a high degree of emotional intelligence, complex physical dexterity, leadership, or unpredictable creative decision making. So let's take the career of a plumber. And let's say this was a on-the-board activity with a class. You would say, okay, let's take the career of a plumber, and what are the tasks in the career of a plumber that are cerebral in nature, exist within the realm of the mental sort of skill set, and tasks that are physical in nature, and then tasks that are social in nature. So obviously, as a plumber, analyzing symptoms, studying specifications, determining length of pipe fittings and the tools, calculating costs for labor, parts, providing quotes and estimates for jobs spent and materials, that's a cerebral task. The physical task is a little more obvious, using those tools to prepare pipes, lifting fixtures, using the hand tools to connect and repair, to prepare areas, very much manual labor, operating the tools and the devices and loading and unloading the tools and the safety gear. The social tasks of a plumber would be speaking with the customer, maybe talking with other tradesmen on job sites to manage the workflow, and maybe being an instructor or a mentor within the field of plumbing. So, because this particular career certainly has a lot more physical tasks than cerebral tasks, I would mark this career as being low risk of being replaced as an entire career by AI. More examples in the skilled trades: plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, welders. In the healthcare industry, surgeons, registered nurse, physical therapists. In the creative areas, chief executive and marketing strategists and architects. Even though their jobs are very cerebral, they're more on the creative and social aspects. And educators and social workers, teachers, psychologists, mental health counselors. I would say they're at lower risk of complete job replacement, but certainly task replacement. We could take another job, like the accountant. This is more of a medium risk because it involves tasks that can be partially automated or augmented by AI, like the drafting of documents, the analyzing of data. They still require that human oversight. They still require client management and high-level judgment. But if we took the same chart and applied it to this task, accountants' cerebral tasks are checking and entering data, comparing records with statements, creating summaries, answering questions about finances, and making sure that they adhere to the specific guidelines, laws, and rules. Whereas on the physical side, you're moving files around, maybe. You're opening mail, walking over to a printer. Less of a physical task environment there. Social tasks, yes, you will have to still have a social component. Speaking with other accountants, going to meetings, and meeting with clients. But because this particular career, the task set within this career, falls a lot more on the cerebral side, I would say that is more of a medium risk, because a lot more of those tasks are being automated by the onset of AI. So other examples could include, within the financial world, junior financial analysts, paralegals, accountants, auditors. And the mid-level tech roles like software developers and data scientists for those basic tasks. Whereas creative graphic designers, technical writers, and copy editors, and middle managers with scheduling and routine email management, those types of tasks can be automated, putting the likelihood of that particular career being completely replaced by AI at a medium risk. And finally, let's take a look at a high-risk category. Right? These are jobs that consist mostly of those cerebral or highly repetitive, rule-based data processing tasks that AI is very good at automating. And therefore, it can do it faster, it can do it cheaper, and more accurately than the human-based version of that task. So let's put that same chart to work here. On the cerebral side, for a customer service rep, would be searching databases and policies to find information, typing notes into a system, right? The physical task would be just the repetitive typing, maybe putting on a headset to speak to people and sitting at a desk for a long period of time. Less, again, social activities as well, maybe just listening and responding to customers, right? And reacting to angry customers to try to mitigate the situation. But nonetheless, because this task is a little more easily automated by artificial intelligence, I would say this particular career as a whole has a much higher risk of being replaced completely by AI. Other jobs in that area could include data entry, clerks, bookkeepers, receptionists, payroll clerks in the customer service industry, customer service, telemarketers, in translation and media, interpreters and translators and proofreaders, and in transportation and logistics, warehouse workers and truck drivers. In theory, if the trajectory of the AI automation continues. Okay, so if you have that kind of discussion with your class, it can certainly open up the field of AI as a discussion topic. But you can also talk about ethics within the use of your specific subject area and the ethics of using and the downside of AI from an ethical perspective. From that next level, you could discuss even a broader sort of discussion on digital literacy as a whole and fact checking what you can and can't trust from the generative AI, including things like hallucination and bias. You could discuss relying on AI as a crutch rather than a tool, and examine hypothetical situations and have the students decide where AI has gone too far and where it is no longer a tool, but is literally doing the work for the student. It's doing the learning for the student. This could be easily summarized as cheating or plagiarism. You could discuss what AI can and can't do, including the things that humans should always do. You could make categories or charts and just have that type of discussion. Critical thinking exercises on examining the limits of what a human does well versus what AI does well, and what they both don't do as well. And on that next level, you could even have the class create an AI code of conduct for your subject area classroom. Now, what I'd like to do now is move into more specific subject areas and some ideas on how to teach and how to use AI within those areas. Let's start with language arts. Well, you could use AI to generate a short story opening for the entire class, and then each student finishes the story in their own words. You could have students upload their work as an example to AI, and then ask the AI to critique that work and give it feedback. You could teach how prompt engineering requires the user to have very clear and well-written prompts, and that the English language arts skills will make you a better user in terms of prompt engineering. Make a prompt writing assignment based on the end criteria. Students write the best well-structured prompts to get the best desired results. You could use the AI agent tip to have AI role play as a character from a novel, and have the students converse with that character and then write about their experiences talking with one of the characters in the novel they're reading with. Now let's turn to mathematics. You could use AI to solve math problems. Using chain of thought prompt engineering, it would show the steps in the process as a learning tool to show students how they could solve that type of problem. You could use AI to generate math problems from current unit concepts to help students connect abstract math concepts to real world examples. There's an example here in this diagram. So that mathematics, which is a fairly abstract subject by nature, can show students the connection to how that could relate to a real world pragmatic example. You could ask AI to explain, maybe giving the context of explaining it to a younger child, how a certain formula works, and then maybe have it generate visualizations to help to explain that concept in more detail, something like the Pythagorean theorem. Now let's turn to science. We could ask AI to present a data set, or use a few shot example and upload a data set to have the AI analyze it, have AI summarize trends around a certain experiment's topic. You could use AI to create simulations, for example, a climate or an ecosystem or a molecular structure simulation, or even design an experiment, including all the steps, evaluating ethics and the practicality of that experiment for students. You could again use the AI agent scenario where AI role plays as a famous scientist like Einstein, and have students converse and have the scientist explain their discoveries and theories while role playing that scientist themselves. And you could use AI to simplify scientific journals at the level of reading of the student. So you could give them a link to a detailed academic journal article in science, and then have AI explain it at a 9th grade level, who may be to a student whose first language isn't even English. In social studies and history, you could ask AI to simulate a debate on a controversial historical event, for example, the causes of the American Civil War, and then have students analyze and write about why they might agree or disagree with one side of the debate. You could have the AI agent scenario again and have AI role play as a historical figure. And the students could have an interview with that figure, write about the events in history as part of that, as a simulated interview process. You could generate historical timelines, including images and artifacts and dates, historical maps, summarize primary sources by giving those few shot examples, uploading links to those primary sources. You could ask AI to generate a what if scenario, an alternative history scenario, like what if the Allies lost World War II, and have students discuss the historical accuracy of what comes out of the AI output. In the art, music, and drama creative fields, you could have class discussions about the ethics of AI-generated art, discuss what is art, is this even art, and discuss what creativity in that field really means. You could upload student work or upload a famous work of art to AI, have it summarize the style, the composition, or have AI generate an artistic piece like visual art or music based on the context and the constraints of that art style. So students would come up with the context and the constraints and then have the AI generate art style based on what they come up with. This could be something studied in class and then have students critique what it comes up with as an output. You could again use the AI agent and have it role play as a famous artist and have the students ask the artist for tips and what inspired them. Or in drama, use AI as a role playing to help practice lines and scenes for the play and have it critique your performance and your feedback. You could have AI remix all of the students' work into a collage, a visual or a musical collage of songs that you could upload the pieces and have the AI remix them into one giant collage. In vocational courses, you could have class discussions about how these courses use tools for vocations and that AI might be a more powerful tool that could be essential to that career in the future. You could discuss whether that's possible. For example, AI doing engine diagnostics or smart mirrors that analyze hair damage and suggest color formulas, etc. You could use the AI agent and have the AI role play as a customer or your boss practicing that vocation in a realistic career scenario. In physical education, you could have AI generate customized workout routines based on specific goals. For example, improving running endurance, increasing their strength, which equipment is available, and the time constraints to build that customized routine based on the specific goals and the equipment available. You could have AI generate original games by inputting constraints like available equipment, class size as well, but then specific learning objectives like teamwork or cardiovascular, and modify a known sport to fit that context. As an example, create a dodgeball variant for 30 students with no balls, focusing on communication. So the students themselves could come up with those constraints to help build what the AI is going to generate. You could have AI simulate strategies. What's the most effective soccer formation? And then test it on the field and reflect on what worked and what didn't. You could have students ask AI anonymous and personalized questions about things like nutrition and healthy habits or muscle autonomy, serving as private, real-time study assistants for the theoretical portions of a physical education program. There's obviously overlap in a lot of these subject areas. So although I've presented these within the constraints of a specific subject area, a lot of those ideas could easily be spilled over into another. Using the various ideas and your own creative ways will allow you to leverage AI to enhance the learning in your courses. Also, to prepare students for what comes next, you could use things like AI Agent and role play the types of individual students that they will encounter. For example, you could have it simulate an AI teacher. So elementary students about to enter middle school, they could have simulated conversations with teachers in their new school they're transitioning to, like having the conversation with a middle school math teacher, asking what middle school will be like. You could also have middle school students moving to high school and ask, what's it going to be like in high school for me as a middle school student, by simulating speaking with a simulated high school teacher. You can also have AI simulate student interactions. Do the same thing, but have simulated conversations with middle school students. So as a primary student, you could say, what's it like to speak with a middle school student? Or as a middle school student, simulate speaking to another student in high school and have it evaluate how you conduct that conversation, thus alleviating some of the anxiety of the students transitioning to their new roles in their new schools. You could do something similar with AI careers, having students converse with the AI in the career as a boss or as a worker they're exploring, asking for advice, what the job is like, how they got to that job, all through AI agency. You could do it with a professor. So for high school students moving on into post-secondary, they could converse with AI professors or experts in their specific course they're studying to advance in their future for advice. So for example, a student planning to study engineering after graduation could converse with a simulated AI engineering professor and get feedback on that conversation. And at most, at minimum, you can have AI help students practice their social skills. Practice their social skills on AI peers for their own age, for advice like getting friends or dating, or talking to teachers if you're shy or you're intimidated, or even talking to your parents about very sensitive subjects. And that could help the students get feedback on ways they could improve those interactions and maybe mitigate their mental health anxiety a little. Thank you, everybody, for that examination of how AI is connected to all subject areas in school. I hope you found it good and have a great day.